Everyone. Whoa. Sorry. I want us to be on time. I want us to start on time, finish on time. We have about an hour to do this, so I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to call this special meeting of the Flower Bluff Board of Trustees to order at 6 p.m. Let the record show that not only do we have a quorum, I think we're all here. We're all here. Yes, President accounted for. If you would please rise for the invocation and then remain standing for the pledges. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this short period of time where we can just kind of set things of the day aside and focus on what is really important in this school district. Father, we ask that you show us how our plans for the future of Flower Bluff ISD fit neatly into your plan. And Lord, we just ask for your wisdom, for your insight, and for the courage to act in a way that is in accordance with your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. You may be seated. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments tonight?
No, we do not.
No public comments. Okay, then we are moving on. We are continuing our series of meetings with our Community Advisory Committee. So at this point, what I would like to do is turn this over to Velma Solis Garcia, our superintendent. Oh, before I do, I want to introduce Nicole Dowd. Nicole, will you stand up, please? This is Nicole Dowd. She is our newest board member. Would you give her a round of applause, please? Thank you very much. We appreciate her choosing to serve. Okay, now I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, good evening. How are y'all? Good to see you here. I'm glad that you all have joined us this evening. We are going to continue with some of the work that this committee started last semester as far as our strategic plan. So we'll do a little bit of that work, but before we go there, we just wanted to take just a few minutes, first of all, to introduce all of our board members. I don't know how many of y'all are new to our committee because it is an open meeting, and some of you may not have been here last semester with us. So we'll give the board an opportunity to introduce themselves. So Shirley, would you start?
I will start. I'm Shirley Thornton. I am the president of the board.
Michael?
I'm Michael Morgan, Vice President.
As well?
Jennifer Welch, Secretary. And Nicole Peters.
Jim Needham, Board Member.
And then you've met Nicole Dowd. And then I definitely want you to meet some of our administrative staff that's with us tonight. Some of them were not with us last semester, and so this gives you an opportunity to get to know them. So first of all, our Deputy Superintendent, James Crenshaw. Our Chief Financial Officer, Ludi Gansino. Then we have our Associate Superintendent, Dr. Linda Bargansky. We have our Executive Director for Curriculum and Instruction, Nikki White. Then we have our woman of many hats, Nicole Youngberg, Dr. Youngberg, who is Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Pre-K through 4, and then serves as the principal for our ECC and primary elementary, sorry. Primary and elementary. Then behind the camera, we have Alex Puente, who's Director of Technology, and his team is right behind him. And then, let's see, Kim Sneed, right over here, is our PR person. She's our communications specialist over here. So thank y'all. Oh, we have our Director of Special Ed, Mr. Van Geem, is with us as well. So thank y'all for being here this evening. So we have a short presentation. We're going to start with the mission, vision, and goals. And you should have a copy in front of you. We had them available for you at the table. So we start every meeting with reading our vision, mission, and goals. And so I will start with our team. If somebody would start us off just by popcorn, we're going to read one out. So I can get a volunteer.
Our vision is to make Bluff ISD the premier district in Texas.
Okay, someone else out in the community? Anybody? The mission statement.
The mission of the Hornet community is to foster and empower students to become confident, productive members of society who pursue excellence with integrity.
Very good. And so just to kind of recap, for those of you that may not have been with us last semester, this committee was instrumental in writing these, the mission, the vision, and the goals. So it all comes together tonight. And now we'll read off each of the goals. So goal 1.
Student well-being and academic success, goal 1.
Goal 2.
Faculty and staff well-being, professional development, and growth.
Anybody? Board member? Goal 3,
Community satisfaction and engagement.
which is one of the main reasons we're here tonight, because we're going to work on that one. Goal 4. Okay, and then we serve several sections of Flower Bluff, and we have them listed on this page and on our website: Flower Bluff, North Padre Island, NAS, and CCAD. So we want to make sure that all of those areas know that they're special to us, and that's who we serve. We also serve several students that come to us from other districts via transfers, and we'll go over that here next. You also have a copy of our Hornet Points of Pride. And our administrators, every employee in our district gets a copy of the Hornet Points of Pride. These have been around for a very, very long time and still stand true today. So we live by these, and talks about a lot of our character skills and our personality that we want to build and foster in our students. Our campus principals, tonight's meeting was an optional meeting, so they may not be here today, but I just wanted you to see their names. Many of you know your own respective principal, but the names of the others, we have Miss Molly Martinez, who's the principal of the Flower Bluff Early Childhood Center. Dr. Nicole Youngbird serves at the elementary and at the primary. Dr. Sal Alvarado is principal of Flower Bluff Intermediate. Brody Wallace over at the junior high, and Linda Medley is at the high school. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Crenshaw so he can give us an update on the enrollment.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. I want to talk just a little bit about enrollment. You should have, do you guys mind passing that sheet out? When we're looking at enrollment, it's really important that we kind of compare apples to apples. So what you have here, and I'm sorry it's so small for you to see, but I'll go over it, is a comparison to last year, same time, August the 28th versus August the 13th. And as you can see, currently we have 5,528, and we're still growing, by the way. That number is still shaking out, and I don't think it'll be static probably for another couple of weeks. To note, if you compare what we were last year, was 5,128. So we are a good 400 students up from that time last year. And I'll take you back to last year. At this time, COVID was going crazy, you know, and people didn't know what to do. And if you look, you can see it really impacted the kindergarten, pre-K, and those schools. And you can see that they've really have a healthy recovery this year. So we're real proud of those numbers. And if you also, really every one of the schools, the numbers is looking really good. And the high school is at 1895. The junior high is at 932. So they're back what I would consider pre-COVID numbers. Something you may see as kind of an anomaly there is last year this time the high school showed 1,963 students. And you think, wow, that's quite a number, right? Well, at that time, if you remember, we were all remote. And so for the first time in my career, and for the first time as far as I know, we opened up without any students physically being in the building. So it was very hard to sort out who was still here and who wasn't, and it took several weeks to do that. And I think that's the reason for that inflated number there, 1963. But anyway, we're looking really good, and I've been pushing really hard and saying we're going to try to get to 5,700 by the holiday, and I'm still sticking by that. I hope we can get to there. And that's basically it, unless anyone has any questions on enrollment. I'm sorry? Oh, yes. Another thing, we were really aggressive about getting the word out about Flower Bluff America this year. We really were. We advertised all around, and you can really see that that really paid off. Last year, our total transfers were 780, and this year to date is 945. But I've probably signed 20 more since I made this graphic. So we are getting close, and we could, before it's over, be at 1,000 transfers. And to note is that the base transfers, the folks from the base, that's pretty static. And the employee transfers, that's pretty static. But the transfers, the good old-fashioned transfers, like from CCISD, they're up 200 from last year. So we're really proud of that, and I think our efforts to get the word out really paid off, and those numbers are looking good. Thank you.
And we had set a goal in both of those areas, and you heard him say we're shooting for 5,700 as our enrollment overall. But also for transfers, we had set a goal of 1,000. So we're shy just a very tiny fraction, and we're trying our best to get there. We feel that that's a good number. Next, I'm going to have Ludi come up and talk about finance, business, and human resources.
Thank you. Good evening. The summer months are the very exciting months for business and human resources. There's a lot of things going on. I want to start by introducing the staff in the business office. For human resources, Cassie Freeman is our executive director for human resources, and they oversee the benefits and enrollment, substitutes, and records retention. For the business services, Victoria Bogie is our director of finance, and she oversees the payroll services, accounts payable services, and the accounting services. Also under business and human resources is the warehouse and central receiving. Those are the three departments overseen. Over the summer months, and probably from the spring and over the summer months, and the district insurance committee met multiple times to review the benefit package for the upcoming school year. On the June 24th, June 24th board meeting, the Board of Trustees approved the benefits plan and the rate structure for the new school year. The district also will be subsidizing the health insurance fund with an additional $60 per employee. So the true-up cost of the benefit went up from $440 district contribution to $500 district contribution. Also, on the August 5th board meeting, the Board of Trustees approved an employee pay increase. The pay increase was for all teachers, regardless of the placement on the hiring scale or how many years of experience the teacher has. Everyone will receive $1,200. For administrative professionals, it is a 2% increase from the midpoint. And for paraprofessionals and auxiliary personnel, it is a 3% from the midpoint as well. In addition to the pay increase, at the next regular board meeting, administration will also be proposing a retention stipend. And this is part of the ESSER 3 plan that was submitted to TEA. The retention stipend is for all teachers to receive $1,000 payable in two payments, $500 in December, and then the other $500 payable in May 2022. For all other staff, it'll be $750, $375 paid in December, and the other $375 paid in May as well. Other upcoming items that are very important for the operation of the school district is, one, approving the compensation plan. The board already approved the employee pay increase. So now we're gonna take that into consideration when we look at our pay scale. So we're gonna adjust a new teacher hiring scale. In some instances, some teachers may get a little bit more of the $1,200 depending on their placement on the step. So if the step calls for an additional $100 or $200 to bring them up to the step, we will make those adjustments as well. Let me see if you go back. We are still reviewing stipends, so those will also be adjusted as part of the compensation plan. And then the last item that's very important for the business department is the adoption of the tax rate and the budget for the year. So without those, we can't start operating. There is a deadline. We have to approve the Board of Trustees has to approve the budget by August 31st, so we will be presenting that at the next board meeting. And that is all. If you all have any questions, there is also a handout with all the information. The only thing that I have on the handout that you won't see on the presentation is that our locally certified property values increased by 10%. So for the district, the property values are roughly $3.8 billion. Thank you.
Okay, updates on construction. Mr. Crenshaw?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Right around March, we started really working with the board to figure out how to get some much-needed construction projects off the ground. And we're really excited about getting these things done. So all of these projects, we chose an architect, S&T, and we have a lot of experience with them. They did our last bond, and we were very pleased with their work. And they are charged now with getting most all of these projects going. So the first project you'll see is the rear bus route. And this is a really important project because it's going to really allow us to get our buses off of the main thoroughfare in the morning and the afternoons. And let me tell you, when we get them off of there, it's going to make a real difference in the traffic. I've been studying traffic personally right there at Purdue and and Waldron, so I know it's quite an issue. So we're really excited about getting that project going. And S&T is already meeting with civil engineers to get that one going. Junior high roof and primary roof, they're both in real need, and they're meeting simultaneously with contractors now, and they've already reviewed those prior projects, and they're ready to go. The varsity gym entrance, a company has already been chosen to do that work, so you should see that work starting soon. The rest of the projects, stadium repairs, high school floor repair, auditorium lighting, they're all in the works, and we're waiting for S&T to give us recommendations on those projects. And what you should see once these get going is most of these can be done simultaneously. So we think this work is going to get done rather quickly, and we're excited about that. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, so don't go too far because I think you all are helping with this section, and that's the strategic plan. So on the next slide, you're going to see the goal 3 that pertains specifically to this group, because this group helps us with the community engagement piece. So when we're looking at this slide, and I know it's kind of small, but what the team has done is they've taken from our strategic plan and they're looking at goal 3, and they've laid out some ideas here to include in this one section, and we wanted to bring it to the committee. I just want to remind everyone that we have taken the goals and the performance objectives to the board for approval. The next step is the key strategic actions. That's the input. What are we going to put in to get the work done? And so the team has been working on goal 1, goal 2, and goal 4, But this one, because it involves the community, we wanted your input on that. So I'm going to have the team talk about the work that they've done and then your participation this evening, and then we'll come back together.
Dr. Bragansky and I. Okay, so we're going to start off with goal 3. Like Ms. Solis Garcia said, it's kind of hard to see, but it's community satisfaction and engagement. And the first one that we're going to talk about is 3.1, which is annually increase non-parent community satisfaction. And so we wrote down some options, key strategic action items to kind of get the juices flowing and see if we're on the right track. And that's where we wanted your input. Dr. Bragansky.
Okay. Like Kim said, we have been talking about the key strategic action part of it since the board had already approved the goals and the performance objectives. This is all about community and parents. And we did come up with a few ideas, but we want your ideas. You're the community, you're the parents, so we want your ideas. The first thing that we wrote was under 3.1, where Ms. Sneed was saying, annually increase non-parent community satisfaction. We needed to provide information on district initiatives, and we also needed to create opportunities for feedback there for our non-parent communities. We even have some little stickies. If you come up with some ideas to go in there, we want to hear it. We really want to hear what you have to say. Let's get some of these out to some people. Thank you. Okay.
So basically what we're looking for is your ideas about how we could increase the non-parent community satisfaction in the area. So if you have ideas about what you think we could do, we're real open to that, and we'd like you just to put it on a sticky and bring it up here, and maybe we could incorporate those ideas into this action.
And it's right here, 3.1. So if you have any ideas and you write it on your sticky, just put it right up here, okay?
Just curious, do we have ideas on what the current dissatisfactions are?
No.
That's a really good question. We started really doing some surveys over this last year, and we learned a whole lot about parents and how they feel. We learned a whole lot about students and how they feel, but we still have some work to do about getting a survey out. But we have also had a lot of listening sessions, so I believe through those listening sessions that Ms. Solis Garcia held, we have a pretty good idea, but we're really wanting to seek more input.
We did hear from some community members, they wanted utilization of some of our areas. So we had like the tennis courts. We opened them up. They were asking for pickleball. And so we made the tennis courts available. And believe it or not, Jerry Hooper plays pickleball, one of our board members. And so he can tell you that the interest is there. And we have had community members say, thank you for letting us use the tennis courts, and the swimming pool's also open for activities as well. So those were some of the things that I heard, and we could immediately turn around and implement things like that.
I believe the junior high track.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, and they can go and walk the track back there in the back. The natatorium, the swim.
The community lap swim at the natatorium is
Yeah.
also available. So in addition to the pickleball, we've got the junior high track and the natatorium that's open for community lap swim, both in the evenings at the natatorium, and during the summer, it's open during the day.
Open up Renoski Gym for any of the little leagues, the basketball leagues, and some of those students are not our students, they're younger. So, and those are community members that are volunteering to help those organizations that have reached out, so they do utilize the Renoski Gym. Okay.
So that was 3.1. 3.2, our performance objective for 3.2 is annually increase non-parent community engagement. The first one was satisfaction. This one is engagement here. We came up with a couple of ideas, but again, we want to hear from you. Our first one was to increase non-parent engagement on district committees. The next one was engage with business partners to connect initiatives with resources. And the last idea that we came up with was work with institutes of higher learning to promote academics. So remember, this one was increase non-parent community engagement. So that's the difference between the two. The first one was satisfaction, and this one is engagement. Okay. All right. The next performance objective is 3.3, annually increase parent satisfaction. We talked about community satisfaction, the non-parent community satisfaction, but this one is increase parent satisfaction. And a couple of our ideas were to offer opportunities for feedback and create awareness of district programs. 3.4, annually increase parent engagement. Again, this one has to do with parents and its engagement. A couple of things we thought of was increase parent participation at school events and increase parent involvement on district committees. Okay? We really want our parents and our community members to be involved with us, committees, activities, anything that's going on in the district. We want your input, your support. Okay. Any questions? And like I said, these were just ideas. We want to hear what you have to say. We want your ideas too. I think it was primary. Wasn't it primary? Mm-hmm.
There is a need because we're not letting the students utilize the water fountains, but we've asked for them, the principals have asked their communities, their parents to please bring reusable water bottles. And a lot of the communication that went out from the principals and stuff asked if you want to donate water bottles. I know Ms. Medley said something. I know, Nicole, you might have said something out that if you wanted to donate waters, please, we'll take them. So if you would like to do that, you can go and bring it to any campus that you feel comfortable with. Oh, that would be amazing. Because we have the fountains where they just put the little water bottle up to it. Yeah, there we are. There's one in here. That they just put the water bottle up to that, and so it's we prefer the reusable bottles. Perfect.
So, if anyone has any stickies,
Yeah, we'll take any.
Give them a few minutes if
Yeah.
they want to go up and post their Post-its up there, if they want to write on the posters themselves. Want to give you all some time to give us some feedback. If you have ideas, just write them on your Post-its and place them up under each one of the sections, 3.1, 3.2, 3. We'll take a few minutes just to be able to read that.
3.4, which we have nothing up there, is annually increase parent engagement. Mhm. Yes, ma'am. Four of our schools are Title I schools. In Title I, we get federal funds from Title I, and we have to meet certain compliance issues. And one of them is really big on parent engagement, how we're engaging our parents, how are we making our schools open to them, how are we partnering with our parents and community in helping our students progress during school. And a lot of our Title I campuses, and even the ones that are not Title I, they are doing some awesome things on the campuses. Well, let me back up. Before COVID, they were doing a lot of things on their campus to bring parents in, bring the community in, so that we can partner with our parents and community members, all for the sake of our students.
Even with COVID, as we've progressed, I was surprised at, I don't know how many of y'all attended Fish Fest. Did anybody come to Fish Fest? So you did, right? Julia did. Julia was here, and it was a full house, was it not, Julia? I was shocked. This cafeteria was full of parents and students, freshmen, coming into the high school. And Ms. Metley did an awesome job of splitting the group up into two different groups. So one group stayed in here, and they got information on the different clubs. And then the other group got a tour of the high school. And then they flipped, and the other group came back in, and they were able to separate as much as possible. But it was interesting to see that our kids were so eager to come back and to get back into the campuses. So our participation rate was pretty high, even with COVID and what we're dealing with right now. Okay, well, thank y'all so much for that feedback. And if you think of others, don't stop. Keep writing them down. And as we progress through the meeting, feel free to go up and put those Post-its on there. And we'll take all of those into consideration and pull from there to create those the input items. And while you're doing that, we're going to move forward with our presentation because we want to honor your time. And next, I have our two directors of curriculum and instruction, and they're going to cover our STAR scores from this last year. Nikki?
Good evening. So we do have, Alex, yes, thank you. So before I get going into the STAR scores, I just wanted to point out, you're receiving a handout or a packet right now with, on the very front cover, this is our new core values and beliefs when it comes to curriculum and instruction in Flower Bluff ISD. And so we wanted you to have a copy of that. Most notably, the bottom two boxes, the high quality curriculum and the rigorous instruction. Also, I wanted to just point out, so you hear these names, our curriculum supervisors across the district. We have Miss Ashley Debler and Jennifer Norman. They serve our ECC primary and elementary campuses for both ELAR and math support. And Miss Ashley Debler is helping out right now as well. She's wearing a few hats herself. We have Miss Stacy Cade at the intermediate campus. Tamara Blair is at the junior high, and we have Molly Parker at the high school. And they are a hard-working group of ladies, and I couldn't do what I do without them. So if you see them around, give them a pat on the back and tell them thank you. I'm ready for the next slide. And you can actually go two more. This slide is what you're receiving. It's the second page of your packet. And Alex, if you could jump over to the next slide, it has the exact same information, but with a little bit more, digging a little deeper into that data. So these are our STAR and EOC scores from the 2021 school year compared to the 2019 school year. So as I'm sure you're all aware, in 2020, we did not administer STAR and EOC tests, which is why you don't see 2020 scores on this document. And as you'll note, if you look at the did not meet column, the approaches, meets, and masters columns, you'll notice a trend in all of those columns that we went down and decreased in our percentages, or in the did not meets, we went up in percentage. And that is largely a result of the learning disruptions caused by COVID-19, and the number of students not meeting grade level increased from 2019 across all subject areas and grade levels, and that is consistent with the whole state of Texas. As a subject area, math took the biggest hit. They have the largest decline in proficiency across all grade levels. And we also wanted to point out the number of FBISD students who did not take STAR. They opted out in the spring of 2021. So across the district, we had 361 students that did not take the math, STAR, or EOC assessments, and that includes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 math, Algebra 1. All of that's included in that number, and that equated to about 13.2% of our population. In reading, 368 did not take the tests, which is 10.8%, and that reading includes English 1 and English 2. Writing, 84 students did not test, that's 10.2%, and remember it's just 4th and 7th that tested in writing, which is why that's a lower number than the other content areas. Science had 145 not tests, which is about 11.1%, and again, that is 5th, 8th, and biology. And social studies, everyone took the test because it is in 8th grade, and we had U.S. history at the high school. So luckily, everyone took that assessment. So just most notably, districts with a higher percentage of students learning virtually experienced a greater degree of declines. Districts with the highest percentage of in-person learners largely avoided any learning declines in reading in particular. We had 2,721 students enrolled on math testing day, 3,407 students enrolled on reading testing day, 817 students were enrolled on the writing testing day, and 1,295 students were enrolled on the science testing day. Okay, I'm going to turn the mic over to Dr. Youngberg to talk about something that I think also ties into the activity we just did.
Thank you, Nikki. So they like the name Nicole for the curriculum, but they like tall and then the opposite, short. I have heels on today. I get to talk about probably the most exciting part of this, which is some new things that we started last year. So we started this integrated math and science program, and this kind of stems from the success that we have at the junior high and the high school level in math and science. If you know anything about Flower Bluff, you know how much we excel in math and science when it comes to competitions and things like that at the junior high and the high school level. And so we started brainstorming, how can we make that universal? How can we really encourage that and do more for those programs at the younger grades and the younger levels? So last year they did have one meeting on May 18th, and where these were the committee members, and Nikki made a wonderful graphic there for you. It has all these people listed as well. You probably recognize many of these names on here. Wonderful teachers who had a lot of great input, and so we just started that discussion, but we do have our first meeting planned, and I think actually we planned a few meetings, but the first meeting for this year will be August 30th, 2021, and so we're just looking at ways that we could enrich our curriculum in math and science to help out with our junior high and high school curriculum. And then the next program, which, I'm sorry, was that? Yes, on the math and science, we have 2 community members on that. The last 2. Oh, Miss Keys and Shannon. Keys, I think, is a teacher. Okay. And then on the Integrated Oceans program, this actually, one of our previous board members brought this idea to us, and it was fabulous. I mean, why don't we use more of our resources? We are very unique in Flower Bluff as far as how much access we have to the wetlands. We have property on the island also. So we just have lots of opportunities to explore an oceans type of curriculum. We already do this pretty intensely at the intermediate, junior high, and high school. So again, just how can we at the younger grades support the intermediate, junior high, high school oceans program? How can we utilize our resources and make our district even more marketable, per se? But really, it is something very special to Flower Bluff, and so we really want to invest the time and energy to make that something worthwhile. And so they met actually twice last year in April and then in May, and talked about a lot of things. So we started talking about extracurricular, which we already have a lot of extracurricular, but we started brainstorming some additional extracurricular, like Oceans Club, like Oceans Week, and then taking it as far as looking at our science curriculum, our math curriculum, ELA curriculum, and how could we integrate oceans type themes into our regular everyday curriculum. So we're looking forward to working on these two committees this year, Nikki and I, and really we're super excited because we think it's going to be something that's going to make us even more special.
I just wanted to add one more thing on your handout. We have a teacher from the intermediate that's on a boat right now, and she's doing all of these really cool things. And so I put QR codes on this handout. If you scan them, you can see the Nautilus, which is what she's on right now. It's like a live webcam that's down in the ocean. It's pretty cool. I'm sure webcam's not the right term, but you know what I'm talking about. And then also, she's got a watch log, so she's keeping this running record of everything she's doing, and she's taking these amazing pictures and just notating like a journal what she's doing every day, and then sharing it with her students and with anyone across the district. It's really neat. So that QR code is there as well.
I'll just kind of elaborate a little bit on that. I'm gonna be in the classroom tomorrow, in Miss Mayek's classroom at the intermediate tomorrow, because Miss Katie Doyle, that's the teacher, has been popping into some of the classes at intermediate and Zooming with them. And so she's meeting with a class every day this week and then next week as well. And so be on the lookout because we're gonna have some neat stuff come out from that. And the Nautilus, if you didn't know what that is, Dr. Ballard is the person, I don't know, he owns the Nautilus, I think. And he is the person that originally found the Titanic and all. And so this is an explorer ship that went out of Canada and stuff, and so she's going to be on there for a month. So if that information, there are times that she's on and asking questions and answering questions, and they're studying all kinds of things and everything. So, but keep an eye out on the district's social media and website and stuff, because we have some cool stuff coming out with that. Sorry.
And I think that's it from us, unless anyone has any questions. Yes, ma'am.
When the students reach high school and they want to participate in the Oceans program, if they haven't had any previous Oceans training, will they be at a disadvantage, or how will that work? Or, will they just kind of get right in?
Yeah, Nicole, did you want to answer that one just from?
Actually, Mr. Crenshaw.
Oh, there we go. He has high school experience.
It's not that they're at a disadvantage, it's just that you have a great turnout at the high school because of the interest that they sparked in intermediate, in oceans, and then junior high.
Is the Oceans a competition-based program?
No, no. Yes, and they do a lot of conservation. I mean, they do the science aspect of it too, but it's a lot about conservation as well. And
labs are tied into the hands-on don't go to very often in the wetlands section, but it has the different types of water setting. And then she mentioned the island water, which you all know very well that soon that's going to have the Gulf Stream running through there as well, which is going to give our kids an even better opportunity to study 3 different types of water. The other one that I'm mentioning is the brackish water that's inside the wetlands. So next, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bargansky. She's going to talk a little bit about student services. So as you can see, we're just giving you an overcap of everything that goes on in our district to pique your interest. And then as you hear of committees and you want to serve, this is your opportunity to just hear what's going on. And as we're putting that information out, feel free to contact us so that you can become involved in those areas. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Solis Garcia. I just wanted to take a minute to just talk to you about the PTEC grant. We wrote the grant, we submitted the grant, and we received the grant. Okay. What is what is PTEC? You might be wondering. Okay. So I just put a little handout together. I'm sorry. Mine's not all pretty and colored like everybody else. I'm conserving money over here. Yeah. So, okay. What I'd like to say about the PTEC grant is that when we wrote the grant, we wanted to focus in on architecture and the construction pathways. So the grant that we are receiving, that's where the money is going to go toward, is in the construction pathway. It's not just construction. The pathway also includes electrician. It also includes HVAC. So a lot of different areas in the construction pathway. This allows students opportunities to earn certifications. Students that are in CTE classes, we want them to get certifications. We started several years ago when Mr. Crenshaw was here at the high school with health science. The kiddos that leave health science, they can leave with up to 5 different certifications. We want the same thing for our other programs too. We want the students, when they leave us, to have a certification that if they choose not to go to college, they will have a certification that'll help them get a job right out of high school. So this PTEC grant will help with the certifications. When the students are in the construction pathway, it's no cost to them. We provide the materials. We buy the hand saws and the drills and everything for the students to use as they're learning this trade. The PTEC also establishes strong partnerships with local business, industries, and institutions of higher education. When we applied for this grant, we had to get businesses to support us that said that, yes, there is a need in our area for this. It wasn't something that we just said, oh, you know, construction sounds like it's kind of fun, let's just do that. No, we research to see what kind of opportunities our students could have if they went through a certain pathway. And construction, and we had like 4 or 5 letters from different people that have businesses in construction that said, yes, we need this in our area. We also worked with Del Mar College, and they wrote us a letter to submit to the state that said that, yes, they saw the need here and they would help us in any way that they could. And this year they have sent some teacher from Del Mar to help with teaching our students certain different strategies in the construction area. This also is a clear pathway to regional employment opportunities in response to local workforce needs, just like what I said earlier. And this is the first step leading us toward a pathway in technology early college high school, or PTEC, that's what it stands for. Okay. So I just wanted to give you an overview of what PTEC is and how it's going to help our students and support our students in the next few years. Yes, ma'am. Welding, we can, excuse me, no. In the construction pathway here at the school, our kids can get welding when they go out to Craft Training Center. They can get welding. But here it would be the HVAC and electrician, those two. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Is there any long-term pathway to expanding this program? Just for example, Del Mar, you've got a workforce of CCAT that's at retirement age.
Mm-hmm.
And Del Mar has already stood up programs to fill those needs. Is there a long-term look at how we can
Yes.
integrate that? And those are extremely well-paying jobs that are right here. Keep kids in the community.
Mm-hmm. And that's our whole goal. Several years ago, we met with CCAD, and they wanted to start working with us on I want to use the right term. Sir? Yes, sir. That was what they wanted to partner with us, and we wanted to, and we had some courses leading up to that, and then we found out the students had to be 18 years or older to go out and work there. So they were getting the certifications that they needed, but they weren't able to go out to the base until they turned 18.
Working with Del Mar.
Mm-hmm.
Del Mar currently has a program that is a pathway leading into that.
Yes,
So there's a middleman then who wouldn't need to directly work with them.
and we are working with Del Mar. Mm-hmm.
And they are partners with us. They, like she mentioned, there's now an instructor that's coming to us from Del Mar that's helping us with the program. And as she mentioned, it is the first step that leads us towards that early college high school. So what TEA does is they give you a small amount to start the program. And if you're successful, then you qualify for the next level. And so then you have to put in for the next grant, right? And that one's worth millions of dollars. And that's where you start to expand in all the other areas of CTE. And then the reason it's an early college high school is the kids will not only be earning those certifications, they'll start to earn college credit from Del Mar. They would be our partners in that. So this is just the initial start of the program. And as that program grows, then we can expand it into different areas.
You mentioned grant writing. Does the district have a dedicated staff grant writer or an outside consultant?
We have an outside consulting firm. We have a third party because, oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it does take a lot of time. And so we do have a third party consultant that we deal with. And they are very specific. They know our area. They know our district. They study it. And they look for grants that we can possibly qualify for.
And is that something that obviously the outside consulting firm for every program, is that dealt with as a separate funding issue for the district to fund that consulting firm to go after that program? Or is it a blanket consulting firm where they get this might take it into some detail, but
Yeah, no, we don't pay them a flat amount. It's all, Ludi can address that. You want to,
targeting. So if you wanted to expand X program, then you would address that consulting firm and say, we're looking at expanding
Yes.
this program. We would like to go up to this next level of grant.
yeah, like for instance, the Oceans program. They know our interest in growing that, so I've already shared information with them. Be on the lookout for grants, because this is the area that we're interested in growing. We have a strong math science. Be on the lookout for those. So they're scoping out what's out there available to us. We've already, and Ludi can jump in at any time here, but we've already prepared the paperwork that we need for federal grants that come out for those subject areas. So we're ready. They have us ready so that when those open up, we can quickly start filling out those grants. And don't get me wrong, although we have a third-party grant writer, there's still a lot of work that we have to do on our end, because they will send us the information and they'll say, okay, for this grant, we're going to need all this data. And so we're the ones that have to pull it and then provide it to them, and then they write the grant, and then we end up having to pull that same information when it comes back to the evaluation of those grants. So it's not like we're completely out of it. They just guide us through that process, and they seek out those grants. And there is not a flat rate. You want to explain that piece of it?
The way it works with the company that we use is, it can be done in several ways. One, it can be built into the grant itself, where the grant, once awarded, they pay for it as an indirect cost. In some instances, they don't charge
Any other questions about P-TECH? All right, so then I'll turn it back over. Yeah, those are great.
Great questions. At this time, I'm going to have our Director of Technology come up and talk about E-rate. Alex?
Thank you for the opportunity to address this topic of technology with you. Specifically, we're going to be talking about E-rate. What is E-rate? Does anybody have a cell phone? Anybody in here have a cell phone? Probably so, yes, right? Well, let me ask you this. Does anybody have a bill that goes to that cell phone? Probably so, right? If you look at the fine print on that bill, you will see that there is an E-rate tax from the FCC. It's an FCC tax. And so everybody that gets that, they have this, oh, I put the clicker in my pocket. Everybody that gets that bill contributes to an E-rate fund. And in that E-rate fund, they use it to help technology within school districts and libraries. If you'll see on July 8th, I believe that was, we received a letter that says that they have committed over $356,000 to help us here at Flower Bluff ISD in regards to our wireless infrastructure. Now, every year we go out and we get what's called Priority 1, which deals with our internet access, and we get a large portion of that taken care of with E-rate. But Category 2, which is internal, this is going to help us with our internal networking. Well, we were able to get this every 5 years, it readjust. So this was the first year, and we were able to get over $356,000 fully committed. So we're ecstatic about that. We've already ordered the equipment, but with the chip shortage in China, it's kind of hard to get that equipment in fast enough. But the dates are looking like late November. We'll have it, and then as soon as we get that winter break, we're going to be hitting these areas, cabling, and getting this area really nice with wireless. We're going to have more wireless access points, and each one of those is 5 times the capacity of what our current ones are. So we're really going to be in great shape for anything that's thrown our way when it comes to wireless. So we're extremely happy about that. The other thing that I wanted to inform you about was this emergency connectivity fund. This is the first time that E-rate has ever done this. This is another E-rate cycle that specifically addresses remote learning, and remote learning here has to do with doing homework at home. And so any student that needs devices for this, and they can't get this, they don't have the resources to get a device, well, there's a $7.1 billion fund that's set aside for this, $7.1 billion. So we're all invited to do this. Flower Bluff has submitted a request for over $1 million worth of devices so that we can give to our students. These are not devices that we can keep here in the school. These are devices that we give directly to the students. Will we get it? I don't know. You have to remember they have $7.1 billion. Everybody in the nation is going after this money. So if they get under $7 billion worth of requests, there's a very strong chance we're going to get the whole thing. If there's more of requests, then we don't know what the mechanism is going to be to start prioritizing who gets what. So we're optimistic. Like I said, there's over $1 million worth. It's already been submitted, certified, and now we're waiting. We're hoping that mid to late October, we will be getting some information. But meanwhile, we're doing very well with what we have. We're continuing to go along, but these are things that are going to help us in the future. We're constantly looking for ways that we can go out for grants and get this money. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that upgrading the wireless infrastructure. Does the district maintain, I'm assuming, some server network?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and these funds that we're getting, the server itself is actually going to be upgraded along with the wireless capabilities?
So there's specific servers with this. So because of the wireless, you have to get authenticated. So what authenticates it? Well, there's servers that authenticate it. So those specific servers that are tied into the wireless, yes, they will be upgrading it.
The servers themselves, I'm guessing, are a wired, hardened network system?
Definitely, yes, they get higher.
So I don't know how old the system is, but 5G is where things are going, and that's going to require significant infrastructure upgrade, and it's building the district pretty old, the Cat 5 wiring and everything else. Is that being looked at as part of this grant to upgrade for not just a year from now, but for 3 or 4 when 5G rolled out completely, and that requires an upgrade for your hardware networks as well?
So your 5G is going to be your cellular. This is a little bit different. This is going to be the newest, biggest technology is called MGig. And MGig is what we're looking at, and we're wiring to that. That is the latest, biggest standard, yes. And so that, we're actually replacing all our cable. So the Cat 5, yes, it's old. We're looking at the latest Cat 6 enhanced that you have to have for this, Plenum rated. So this is gonna be the latest wiring. It's also included in this grant. Yes, sir, yeah. We're really in a blessed area because we have central office, the administration building, that acts as a center of a hub, and we own all our fiber optics. So all fiber optics, all the backbones, fiber optics, they're all single mode, not multi-mode, single mode, which we haven't even touched the surface of what a single mode can do. That's laser instead of LED. So we have all around here, we have single mode, fiber optic, all going to the center with the latest switches. So we're in a really good shape. Oh, yeah. Any other questions? Once again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. Let me go ahead and hand this over to Ms. Solis Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Puente. Don't you just love to see them shine? We've got a wonderful group, and each one of them is a pro in their area. And I couldn't do the job that I do without every single one of these people that presented tonight and that are behind the scenes. So kudos to them. I wanted you to be able to have an opportunity to see them up front and to present their area. So if you have any questions, we'll entertain them now overall, the whole presentation. And if not, you have one? Yes, ma'am. That is correct, but I'm going to let Ms. Ludi talk about what we do get from our transfer students. So the average daily attendance, so when they're enrolled and then they show up to school, we get that amount of money that that's revenue. Every time the student is in school, it's averaged for the year, and that's the amount that brings in that revenue. So they don't bring their tax, we don't gather their taxes from their homes, but we're gathering their attendance. There used to be a charge, correct? Used to be, yes. I want to say it was like 2 years ago? 2 years ago. Yeah, we were the only ones at the time still charging, so that's why, it didn't make sense. And once we did away with that, the numbers skyrocketed. There is a benefit to Flower Bluff. Yeah. Right. Right. Okay, any other questions? Yes, ma'am. The revenue on the new, it's a year after they're built, is my understanding. Yeah, it's a year after they're built. I know because I'm a new homeowner, they're building my house, and so it's a year after is what they've told me. So I can tell you from firsthand experience. I'm just paying on the land right now, yeah. Yes, sir. It's about $6,000? Over $6,000 a student per year. Yeah. Plus it's a lot of, these students want to be here. We have students that come to us that live right across the street from new schools in other school districts. and they choose to come here because of our programs, because of our teachers, because of our, everything that we have, everything that we believe in here at Flower Bluff. And they themselves will tell you that. I live right across the street from, you know, the big school over there. And they choose to come to us, and then they go and they tell their friends, and so then it becomes more that want to come. And so that's why those numbers they just keep going up and up. I don't think we've been counting them. I don't think we've been I can check with the principals, but I don't think we're counting them tardy. Well, right. And let me start by saying that we started conversations with the city of Corpus Christi. We're working very closely with them, and I had to thank them for coming forward and being very open and receptive to some of the ideas that we had. But they too came with a lot of ideas, and so we're not finished yet. Just because they're flying a drone and getting an analysis of our traffic, that's not all they're doing. We're talking about possibly having additional roads that would get us out of these neighborhoods that are right across the street from our schools, that would get us out towards Waldron without coming down Hustling Hornet. We're talking about, and you heard Mr. Crenshaw mention the service road back here. That's going to, and we did the same thing, and I'll explain what we did with ECC. ECC, the buses would come and line up right next to the school, and then they would come on to Purdue. And together we analyzed the situation, and we said we've got to come up with a better idea. So now we've made the back section the bus loop, so they don't even go on to Purdue. They come back onto Waldron and then hit the schools, hit the other schools before they go out. So we're coming up with different ways to kind of alleviate some of those situations. Now, when we do that back road, we're already thinking ahead. We're thinking, okay, we're going to have a separate out, because we can't have them all then go out onto Glen Oak, because then all we've done is shifted the problem from one side of our district to another. So just know that it's almost a daily conversation and an analysis that's continuously going, because we want to make sure that we try to come up with as many different scenarios as possible. Yes. Right. Another idea that we've talked about are shuttle runs. So for those transfer students, instead of having the parents come all the way here, that we meet them. So we're trying to get there. We're lacking bus drivers. We need bus drivers. Yes. Yes. So we've talked about having a shuttle stop at the Walmart, so parents could drop off students there. We'd have buses available for them there. At the Falas parking area there. Those are two that we've talked about. So those are things that, you know, we're tossing out there, but we need bus drivers first. And so we're addressing that. Ludi and the team and James, they're all working together on what are some things that we need to do to improve to bring in more bus drivers. We just, I got an email earlier today, received an email that said we have 4 in the queue that we're possibly ready to hire. So the more we can hire, the more services like that we can put in place. Yes, definitely. Definitely. And I know our parents would appreciate it, because if I could drop off my children at Walmart and I have to come all the way over here in traffic, they're going to choose that. So, but anyway, thank you so much. Those are great questions. Yes, that's okay.
Two more questions. One of them based off of what you just said. And I've utilized this before on large scale industrial projects. Has the district ever looked into bringing in a company that utilizes traffic flow management software, where they essentially come out and do traffic count and flow, then they take a Google Earth view of your buildings or campus, and they'll actually run that in a simulated program and pump you out a best case scenario traffic flow map. You can actually look at, okay, when you flow here this way,
We're hoping.
actually cut down the traffic
We're hoping that the city of Corpus Christi is actually doing that right now, because they have,
Campus, like traffic flow within your parking lots, the city, I don't think will do that because it's not a public.
not the parking lots themselves, but they are specifically hitting the streets right now. And then we can take that information and then take it one step further. We have, the city has 2 engineers that came to our meeting, and they're studying the traffic flow. They took drone footage this past week. So then they'll come back to us, and then they'll suggest some things that we might be able to change. And I do believe they are capturing those parking lots as well.
Most of your traffic backups seem to happen not necessarily in the theater rooms, but most people pull into the parking lots.
That's where we're having, yes.
Maybe not able to turn right.
Yes, and we have even done that ourselves. Like, for instance, the elementary, when you're coming in from Hustling Hornet, that very first entrance there, we had some cars. We had about 10 cars that our own faculty were parking there. And so Don and I were standing there one morning, and we're like, you know, if these 10 cars wouldn't be parked here, we could actually bring in another lane of cars. So he was going to cone off that area and have those teachers park somewhere else and just give us a little bit more space. We do recognize that we need to expand our parking lots in some areas, but it all goes back to cost, you know?
That brings me back to the question this young lady over here brought up about the new neighborhoods that are being built. I don't know if this is really looking really hard at that, but for example, Horton Homes is a national home builder. They're going to have that neighborhood done in 9 to 10
Yep.
months. And which means that you're going to have a flood, let's just say 2 kids per house, 48 houses. You have a flood of 80-something children in less than 12 months.
Yes.
You're going to be in the rears as far as funding the taxes for that for a year.
Yes.
I mean, are we looking at that from a budgetary
We-
point and saying that there's going to be a deficit, and then, well, there's 2 parts to that. The second part is those are 12 to 1,500 square foot houses. They're going to bring in significantly less in tax base than what exists in what other neighborhoods would be built. So you could have a deficit for that $6,000 per student, where that's what you're basing that future cost for each student. You're not going to get that out of your tax base.
You're not going to get it out of the tax base, but you're going to get it out of the students, because those are the homes that those families could afford. So they may have more kids in those homes because that's the affordable housing, right? Those are the homes that they've been wanting. They want the affordable housing. They can't move into our district without those homes. So those and the apartments are the ones that are going to bring in more kids. So they may not bring in the taxable value that the other houses do, but they may have the larger families in those homes. So then, so I'm going to, let me touch on one thing first, and then I'm going to let Ludi touch on if our revenue, our taxable revenue goes up and our state aid goes down. She'll touch on that in just a minute. But let me touch on quickly about what we're going to have to look at as far as all those transfers we're taking right now, because we are going to get to a point where we can't take as many transfers because we hope that those homes are going to bring in the kids, right? So at some point, we're going to have to say, okay, at the primary, I can take X number for sure in these classrooms. So I'm going to have to lower the number of transfer kids because we're increasing these homes and the children that are moving into them, into those neighborhoods. So at some point, we're going to have to balance out, right? So we do know that. But I'm going to let Ludi touch on the state aid and our state revenue and our taxable values.
So the way our property values work is that new funding formula that was approved 2 years ago with Council Members is that they did readjust the funding formula. So what it is that as your property values increase, then now your tax rate increases proportionately. And before it wasn't. If you had a voter-approved tax rate, for example, the maximum at the time was $1.17, then no matter how much growth you had in your property values, you taxed at $1.17. What you did see was a decrease on your state revenue, a slight decrease. Now with the new change, what it does is the higher your property values go, now your tax rate decreases. And now your state funding, once you put in that property value, it kind of makes up a little bit of that loss that you had at the same year. What it was doing before, there was a lag. There was a 1 year behind. Now we're on par. Your tax year equals your state funding year as well. So they try to keep you at about the same funding formula because of that decrease in the tax value. I mean, the tax rate.
So is there
Right.
Is there a set formula that you can apply per child that shows
Ye-
that offset?
Yeah, so actually where you won't see it a negative effect when you have an increase is on your student enrollment, because that only affects state funding and it only increases it. The more you have, the more state funding you have. It has no effect on your local revenue. The other way, when you have property value increase, it does have an effect on your state, on your state revenue. It decreases it.
Are we factoring, if that's a, you're talking where hopefully getting the values are par, but you're still gonna have an offset, right?
Right, right. Where you see the gain is if they bring in, they do have more students, that they have more kids, and they bring in more, more enrollment to the district, then you see that go up.
So, 48 children with 48 new students coming in, that small differentiation might not be a big deal. But we're talking about there's 3 neighborhoods being built, 50 single-family homes currently, right now, plus the new townhouses on Bluff Drive. So those small values, small differentiations can add up to a significant amount of deficit at some point.
Not on your local tax collections. I don't think that's going to be a major issue because, like I said, they're adding, not decreasing your collections, your appraised value for the district. So even if it's minimal, it is still an increase. This year, we saw a 10% increase in property values. A year before, I believe it was a decrease, which I'm surprised. I think there was about a 2 or 3% decrease the previous year. This year is a 10% increase. So I don't think that you'll see the negative effect on the lower property values. I think you see the gain on the student and gains that you get on the enrollment. And like I said, one, the more students mean more state money, no effect on your local revenue. The other way, you do have a negative effect on your state funding.
Well, what a great meeting, lots of information, and I think we need to give our superintendent, Velma Solis Garcia, and her staff a round of applause. They worked really, really hard. And if anybody ever actually, now she understands school finance. It is one of those things that you just look at it and go, what a convoluted mess. I say it every year, because it's just something that, they take away whatever they promise to give you, and that's just the way it works. At this point, I would like to ask Mrs. Solis Garcia, do you have any closing comments?
We're really excited about, well, a lot of the things that you heard here today, but really excited about the adventures of Mrs. Doyle's class, because that is an opportunity that not a lot of schools get to have, that opportunity of our kids connecting with her while she's on the Nautilus. And we do have them zooming in at different classes, and like Ms. said, we'll have more information on that out to the public. That's just one example of how our staff was so dedicated to go out and get that experience to bring back to our students. So I have kudos to our team. It's a very unique situation.
Yeah. Oh, she's amazing. That's something. Okay. We have already gone about 20 minutes over, so board members, I am going to give you an opportunity to address this meeting tonight. Any last thoughts you have about what we've heard here tonight? And I will start with Mr. Hooper on the end.
Thank you for being here, that's the only thing I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Needham?
Yeah, just saying thank you all for coming, and thank you to all the staff for all the work that you put into the presentation.
Very good. Ms. Peters?
Sam, thank you for the work on the presentations, and it's good to see you all coming back to the meetings.
Good. Mr. Morgan?
Again, thank you all for being here and for your team, great job, and look forward to seeing this go to fruition.
Mrs. Welp?
This is all about community engagement and satisfaction, so thank you to each one of you for being here tonight.
And Mrs. Dowd?
Thank y'all for being here. I was actually on one of these boards a few years ago. It's amazing the things that you learn when you're actually soaking it all in, right? So highly encourage y'all to come back to the next one and then tell people for next year too, because it's so amazing to learn what we're doing here in the Premier District. Thank y'all for coming.
And to piggyback on what she said, bring a friend. We want everybody here. I mean, it's kind of like church or whatever. Just bring a friend. We want everybody to know the great things that are going on in Flower Bluff Independent School District, because I promise you, you're not going to find another place like this. Thank you for being here. I am going to officially call this meeting adjourned at 7:21 p.m. Thank you so much.